We've had over 100 police raids of homeless camps. Now, I don't want to see homeless encampments throughout our city. I don't want to see them in our parks. Our parks are there for all of us to enjoy. I don't want to see encampments on Main Street, where we've had them, between planters as you're going to a nice restaurant. I don't want to see them in our neighborhoods, because it drives people against each other, and it's not what we ought to have, and it makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable, it makes people feel unsafe. And there is a criminal element among the homeless community that also victimizes people in the homeless community as well as our neighbors and our businesses. But if we don't find the solutions, and there are solutions, I'm very optimistic, I'm absolutely inspired when I go around the country. And by the way, our mayor hasn't been to one model homeless facility anywhere in this country in the 9 years she's been in elective office. She's never visited one of them. Well, I have. And I can't tell you how wonderful it is to go to, say, Haven for Hope in San Antonio, where they have a campus and they care for people and they provide them the services and the treatment they need, and they put them in transitional housing and get them transitioned into permanent housing and jobs and productive lives. And then they also have a protected place, they call it the courtyard, that if somebody isn't ready for independent living, they can bring them in there so they're not camping around the city, and they've got a place for them, both sheltered, they sleep on pads, wall to wall, but at least they're kept out of the elements. They're not going to be rounded up by the police. They're not going to have their property stolen by the police. And by the way, here, the police, with the help of a contractor that's contracted by the city, they go out and along with Salt Lake City Streets Division, when we've got all these crumbling roads, and I've talked to these employees, they're disgusted. They have to be participating in this with their heavy equipment, scooping up tents, sleeping bags, blankets, clothing, medications, and dumping them by the ton in these trucks headed for the landfill. Brand new tents. This is supposed to be an environmental mayor. What happened to reuse and recycle? When we're doing that, and we've got all these good-hearted people that are donating all of these items for use by the homeless population, and the police are going in, engaging in these absolutely sadistic raids. And again, we don't want those encampments around, but there has to be an alternative, and that's where the failure in leadership has been, because there are no alternatives. Sometimes I call every night, the hotline number. Do you have any spare beds? Where are there beds available? There aren't any. In this freezing weather, there are no beds. And most of these places aren't even at the capacity ordered by the state, let alone by what the mayor held this press conference and said, I'm issuing this emergency decree. She's really good at signing things that mean nothing at all because it hasn't translated into those extra beds. And so we have people on the streets freezing. This is a record this year. 6 people dead so far by the elements. We didn't have that happening when I was mayor. I called Matt Minkovich and I said, in the 8 years I was mayor, he was the director of the road home, do you recall anybody dying in the winter? He said, I remember one person who was outside the road home and he wouldn't come in, and he went over and apparently he fell down somewhere and died of exposure. That wasn't happening in Salt Lake City because we know how to take care of our own. We see people who are in trouble, we lend a helping hand. Well, it's become just the opposite of that. And as a result, we have now a few nonprofits and a lot of volunteers. And I've been over volunteering at the First United Methodist Church. And they'll get 80 people. They let them come in and sleep overnight, but it's only from 8 p.m. until 8 a.m. And then they need to go out and face the elements again. But thank goodness there's this one church that apparently did read the New Testament and took it seriously to open the doors and provide a warm shelter for people to be able to come in. And I'll tell you, it is the most beautiful sense of caring and compassion and peacefulness and people finding a place to be out of the elements. Well, you have to do that when city government isn't doing its job. But we have these solutions in place from other model programs and what's being done around the rest of the world. If I'm elected mayor, there will be, it might be a pad, it might be a cot, but there will be a bed out of the elements for every single person in Salt Lake City, and we'll make it happen with the collaboration of the state. And I've already talked to state legislators about this. We'll do it with the collaboration of the county, the philanthropy community, and with city resources being devoted to positive solutions rather than spending over $1 million a year on these cruel, sadistic raids of these police encampments.